I've also really liked the sort of community that I've created with it. Like, there's so many people that want to know what's going on. There's also like just as many people who like want to help and they want to be part of it somehow.
Cool,
I've
yeah.
got like so many friends who are like now part of this boat, and now like it just makes it like so much more meaningful to me.
Welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast, a podcast made by an everyday sailor for everyday sailors. We talk everything from day sailing to racing to cruising to camping out on your boat and everything in between. It's time now to raise the sails.
Ahoy, sailors! I am thrilled to introduce you to a remarkable young yachtswoman, Rosie, who, since 2023, has embarked upon resurrecting a 1966 Bristol 27 for her senior project at the College of the Atlantic, located in Bar Harbor, Maine. Rosie, originally from the Falkland Islands, graduates from college this June. And along with this stellar achievement, she comes away in hand with a newly renovated sailing vessel she lovingly calls Gentoo, named for the Gentoo penguins commonly found year-round among the Falkland Islands. Through her years of training, conscientious planning, hard work, and forging friendships with those around her, Rosie's efforts in breathing life back into Gentoo have culminated in an amazing gift: finding community. In addition to Rosie's passion for sailing and yacht restoration, Rosie also dedicates her time, along with her heart and soul, to her artwork, much of which features seascapes, sea life, wildlife, and other things found in the natural world around her. Be sure to watch the video all the way to its end, where you can find a portfolio of pictures featuring the stages of Gentoo's restoration the past 2 years. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome.
Is the audio good for me?
Yeah, I'm just going to turn up just a little bit. I use my little earphones, so because I am in a public area and sometimes it can get a little noisy, but I have to come here because the internet is much, much better here than it is where I live in the country. So welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, Rosie. Is it all right if I call you Rosie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is really exciting.
Yeah. I'm really tickled, I guess is the word I use, when I saw your invite on Instagram, because I mentioned to you that I'm somewhat new to the app and learning sort of how it works. But I'm a little bit always scared about like sharing and then who do I connect with. But when I saw your invite and I looked you up, I'm like, this young woman looks really rad. I gotta definitely accept her invite thing. So,
Cool.
so I'm so glad you reached out. I'm really excited to talk to you and hear about what's going on with your big project with the restoration of your Bristol. Before we get into all of that, though, I generally just kind of like to hear and have you tell everyone how you got interested in sailing, how sailing sort of came into your life, your little bit of your background story.
Yeah, I'm currently a senior in college. I go to College of the Atlantic in Maine. And I originally grew up in the Falkland Islands. I lived on an island called New Island. And I was like really into boating there, obviously, because it's an island. And it's kind of what you do. My dad had a sailboat, but he never sailed it because the Falklands are like kind of insanely windy, and he mostly used it to move sheep from like wherever island to island because he was a shepherd there. And then my mom, who's from the US, she actually went to COA before, and that's how she ended up down in the Falklands. There's like crazy long story there. But they had a property in Montana, and so we moved from the Falklands to Montana, just for schooling because there were people there, but like not too many people. I think that was the thing that my parents were into because like we were the only people on the island. We had one neighbor who was there like
Wow.
seasonally. And so my parents thought we'd turn out a little weird, my brother and I. And so they're like, let's go somewhere with more people. And so I lived in Montana for like lower school and high school. And then I found COA, which is nice because it's on an island in Maine.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it felt really good to like go back to the sea. And then, well, I was originally going to go to MSU in Montana. But that was kind of like a just because I'm here thing.
Is that in
And
Missoula? Is that where that, or is that Billings?
I think there's branches. I was going to go to the Bozeman one, and
Oh,
there's
Bozeman. Yeah.
I think there's one in Billings and Missoula. But yeah, that was kind of like a filler thing until I figured out how to get out of Montana. And there was this program that College of the Atlantic was doing called Islands Through Time, which is a program for high school students, which is just like they take you to a bunch of islands and you learn about the people who live there and the birds and everything else.
Oh my goodness.
I know, I was like, that is so cool. Like, obviously, I'm doing
Yeah.
that. And that's like a summer thing, but then that was 2020. And so I didn't end up doing it, obviously. And the person who runs it, who's now one of my advisors at the college, he was like, well, why don't you just come for the island season? Because the college has 2 research islands that have like gull colonies and some other birds nesting.
Oh my.
There's Great Duck Island, which is farther inshore, and then there's Mount Desert Rock, which is about 25 miles offshore. And they both have like pretty lively nesting colonies, and the Rock is also famous for like its whale research. And my advisor was like, why don't you just come to Great Duck Island for the summer and do the gull research with us? And I was like, yeah, that sounds okay.
Yeah, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, and sorry, this is kind of a really long forever
No,
story.
no, I want to hear all of it because I didn't even know what well, first of all, I just think it's really cool that you're from the Falklands originally.
Yeah.
And then to go from that to Montana must have been kind of a big change because you're pretty landlocked in Montana. But
Right.
the COA, I was hoping we could talk a little more about what that school is because I have always had this sort of an interest in getting into the maritime industry myself personally, as my encore career, because I'm at that stage of life. And I'm interested in finding schools that, offer those sorts of maritime trade type things. So I'm not sure if that I really understand what the COA is. Is it like a maritime college or is it more a liberal arts sort of school, and they have an emphasis on like some of the things that you've already mentioned with the wildlife studies and things of that nature?
Yeah. COA is kind of a weird school, I would say. It's not like a regular college. And there's only one major. It's human ecology. And so it is a liberal arts school. There's 360-ish students.
Oh, wow.
It's very small. It's in Bar Harbor, which is like, I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It's
Yeah.
one of the most touristy towns in Maine. It's right
Yeah.
on Mount Desert Island with Acadia National Park. And so anyway, the college is very small. It's in town. And there's like human ecology is like this very overarching branch of like how we contextualize humans in like science, in art, in politics, in literature, kind of like anything that you have an interest in, you kind of like, because a lot of these departments in normal schools
Yeah.
they're like very separate from like where humans fit in to this world that we are
Yeah.
studying. And so COA is kind of like contextualizing humans in every field that you're interested in.
Wow.
And so for me, that means boating. And so like when I first got involved with our islands, obviously you have to take the boat to get there. And the college has this fabulous, it's a 42-foot Westmac, which is just like a glorified lobster boat, sort of. It's a really nice boat, but it's meant for like research and working with the islands and taking classes of students out for oceanography, marine mammal biology, kind of whatever it needs to do.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so I got involved with sailing initially because of our waterfront program at the college. So there's like work study positions, which I think regular colleges have.
Sure,
I'm guessing
yeah.
because it's a federal thing.
Mhm.
And the college kind of makes its own like spots you can work on the farms and in the library, and you can work for the buildings and grounds crew. And I immediately was like, I need to work for the waterfront crew and work on Osprey, which is our West Mac.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, that was what I was going for immediately, and because I wanted to be island and boat involved. And the waterfront crew also has like this pretty awesome sailing program. So we have two small like Rhodes 19s sailboats, just like day sailors for students to learn on. And that's what I initially learned on. And it was like amazing, obviously. And then the college got donated this 46-foot Seguin, which is a Lyman Morse, like a 1983, I think.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Lyman Morse is like a big boat builder in Maine, specifically.
Oh, like Morse?
Yeah.
Morse? Yeah. Okay. I think, yeah, keep going. I think I know who you're talking about now. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we got donated this boat, but it was like the school gets a lot of boat donations, and then the waterfront work study, and the captains at the college spend a lot of time renovating those boats, which is where I learned to do like the refit thing, like the carpentry, plumbing, all that electrical kind of stuff. So our sailing boat that we got donated, the Seguin, is named Rebecca after a student who passed away in a Thailand tsunami doing some sort of marine biology. But this boat we got donated for like $1 or something, and I was on the crew that year when we refitted her, and so there were like 7 of us on the crew, and so I'd kind of go in someday and like start some wiring project, and then I'd come in the next day and the rest of the crew had finished it. And so I was going through like all of these like bits and pieces of a refit, and I really was like getting a lot out of it, but I wanted to learn to do like the whole thing on my own because it was just like so interesting to me. And so at the college we do a senior project, which is one of the graduation requirements. Which is basically like your culmination of like human ecology and what you've done, what you've learned, and what you're going to make of it. And so for me, I was like, well, I would like to do a refit of a sailboat for myself so that I can learn kind of how to do like the whole thing on my own, and also how to like learn along with other people. And so I have a lot of friends who are interested in it, and it's like I'm learning and teaching them, and they're learning and teaching me things. And like my captain is my director, and he's taught me a lot, and it's like it's very fun. And like the end goal of the project is that I can bring this boat into the sailing program until I leave, and then have some more opportunities for people to be on the water.
So the boat that you have now for your senior project is kind of back me up a little bit. It's a 60s era boat, correct? And it's a Bristol 2029.9 or
27.
27. Okay.
Yeah,
and
it's a 1966.
Do you know, I was just talking with somebody else, another sailor, and they were saying they thought that Bristols were originally fabricated in Maine. Do you know if that's where she was born? Was she born in Maine? Do you know her history?
I don't know. I have a survey from like the 70s, which could probably tell me that.
Wow.
It's like from a typewriter. So it's like one of the original older ones. When I was sanding off the paint the other day, they had like, it's painted with exterior house paint, so it's already kind of hellish to get it off.
Wow. I wonder why. That's interesting so how did, I have so many questions. Like, first, how did you even find the boat? That one wasn't donated to the school, right? Didn't you find the boat?
No, because this one's, because I was going to use a college donation boat. But then if I would do all the work on it and then it would go to the college, which is fine, but usually the college has this thing where like they get a donated boat, they spend a lot of time with students working and learning, and then they sell it to pay for the refit for the next boat. And I was like, I wanted it to be like part of something here. And so I was like, well, if it's mine, then I can make it part of something here. And so I found it on Facebook Marketplace, actually, in Phippsburg, Maine. It was like the cutest old couple, like the most fabulous people on earth. I love them. Just this 80-year-old man and his wife and their cat with like opposable thumbs or something. And I was just like sitting in their yard, and this guy's like, yeah, we haven't used it in 15 years. We're just getting a little too old. And I was looking at it, and he's like, I was like talking about all the stuff, like it had a soft deck, and I mean, like if you see my Instagram, like all the things that I've done to it, he's like, we're not doing electronics, and that looks kind of bad. The tree fell on the pulpit, but like it's fine. And I was kind of looking at it, I was like, this is cool, like all these little things can do and learn about. And he was like, wow, this is crazy. Like I've never met someone who is like trying to get a boat that isn't ideal and also is knowledgeable about it. You can have it for free if you want. And I was like, well,
Oh
I'm
my
still going to give you
gosh.
the
Yeah.
$500 that the marketplace ads said to. But like he
Wow.
was so lovely, and he gave me the engine for it, but he was like, this has to have an impeller replacement, and I'm not going to give it to you until I make sure it runs properly. And so he like drove it back up to me himself like 3 weeks later after he fixed it, which is a 3-hour drive. Like he did that just out of kindness. And then he like took me and my partner out to lunch, and it was just like, they're very
Cool.
sweet people. And
Yeah.
I'm like really channeling them in this refit. And I'm hoping that once she's like splashed this, hopefully at the end of this next month, they can like come up and have a sail on her or something. Cause yeah, they are really kind to me.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be extremely meaningful to them to see all of the love and the hard work that you've put into the boat, and then to have them come be able to go for that sail with you is going to be really special for them, I'm sure. Isn't it neat though how you can I love how the universe works. Because I mean that to me just it sounds like such a fantastic story of, the right place at the right time sort of a thing for what you were looking to do. And I apologize. It sounds like somebody's like drilling around here. Can you hear that?
It's okay. I don't hear
I'm
any of
so
that.
sorry. I'm trying to like use the little audio off and on when you talk. So hopefully we can still hear you better. But
I think the mic on your little earphone is picking only you up, because that's all I hear.
Oh, okay,
the little
good.
white
This
block
little
there.
guy here.
Yeah.
I should know that, but I don't. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're not hearing all the nonsense that I'm hearing back here. But anyway, so since we kind of just got acquainted recently, I haven't really delved back far enough to see where or when you kind of took stewardship of your boat. And by the way, you call her is it Gentoo? How do you am I pronouncing that right? Gentoo?
Yeah,
Okay.
Gentoo. Yeah, it's
Cool.
a species of penguin that was there are colonies of them on the island, on New Island that I grew up on.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite thing.
I think it's funny now that I just was reading a book, and I think that they were discussing that type of penguin. I don't remember what book I was reading, but anyway, that's very cool. So, but yeah, so talk to me about how long have you had the boat? How long ago was it that you found her again? You might have said, and I'm just spacing out.
I got her in 2023. So it would have been October of 23. So almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't really get to start much work on her until last spring, because I kind of got her in the fall, and then I built the tent to keep her like safe from the winter. Yeah, and then it was like Maine winter, no more work.
I was going to say that to me makes your story all the more extraordinary because to do all of that work, I mean, I'm assuming you were probably working throughout the year to the extent that you could, because I don't know if you had heat in that, like a source of heat in there. Probably not. Yeah. I'm curious.
I've been running it like a little space heater on an extension cord in like last November, because I was trying to get like the deck paint to cure, and I was like, little space heaters with like tarps over them.
Oh yeah, to, like, and even like the caulking or any sorts of sealants and things like that too. If the temperature isn't right, it's just not going to set properly. Yeah. But I kind of have to say your story reminded me a little bit. You probably already know who Holly Martin and Wind Hippie is on Wind Hippie, and her refit of her Danish. She had has a Danish built boat. Like spacing out on the type of boat that it is, but it's about the same size as yours. I think it's 27. And I think her boat is, I'm not sure if it's 60s or 70s. I can't remember how old it is, but it's an older boat. And her family lives in Maine. And so she refit her boat in Maine as well. And she has some really
interesting videos, like way back when she started. I think it was in 2019, maybe. If you haven't seen them, you might be tickled just to check them out, because I'm sure you'll see some parallels with her story and your story a bit.
Yeah.
She actually also did some work on research vessels. I think they were research vessels that went to Antarctica, and
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure she might have been in the Falklands for a little bit too, but I could be not remembering that correctly. But anyway, when you got your boat, I'm kind of wondering too, with the program that you have for your senior project,
Mm-hmm.
and then with you and your own personal sort of goals for the boat, as far as like, okay, here's my list of to-do things. Here are the things I'm going to do. How did you sort of, I mean, does the school sort of give you some leniency about, okay, you have at it, and then just like, we want you to present like a thesis at the end, or like do you have to give like a presentation from like before to after? I'm just kind of curious how they approach it, as far as, I hate to use the phrase getting a grade for it, because I'm guessing
Right.
you probably do, but I don't know what they
Right.
call that these days. I've been out
Well,
of college a while, but
yeah, it was a graduation requirement to like do the project.
yeah.
And the project is like, there's not really any direction for it. So you build your own project and
Okay.
you have like a staff member or a professor who is like your director. And then you kind of work with them to figure out like what you're going to do and how it's going to be like fulfilled. And so
Mhm.
you write up your proposal, and you're like, the bottom is like criteria for evaluation. And for mine, I was like,
Okay.
I'm just trying to make a boat that is like safe, sailable, and get some students out on the water with it. And like, that's kind of, I left it really loose and open
Yeah.
ended. So
Okay.
it's like, it just has to be safe, like maybe the sink's not installed, but it's sailable.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like that way of like things do what they do in boat projects, where like you open a hatch and all the rest of the hatches fall out, like you can
Yeah.
kind of work with it. And like right now she would float and she would sail. And so
Yeah.
technically I could be done right now, but like it's sort of up to me to figure out like where I want to be within the project.
Okay.
And yeah, and so right now I feel like I'm pretty on track with my goals. Like I've got a month and all I have left to do is like paint the hull, paint the bottom, install the batteries and solar, which is like
Wow.
pretty doable for May. And so I think I can do it.
So
I
you'll have the boat ready for, I mean, I'm assuming the season in Maine is probably not underway quite yet, right? Because it's pretty chilly there at this time of year,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. But by June,
Like
probably you guys start getting into the thick of things with the sailing season kicking up.
yeah, and so the college's term, technically I graduate June 7th, so it has to be done by then.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
the college's term ends. Well, we have trimesters, so we have
Mm-hmm.
three 10-week trimesters in a year. We're on week 5 right now.
Okay.
um, and so there's like the pier at the college, like the waterfront, and all the boat launching happens usually in the spring, like at the very end of the term, because there's
Okay.
nor'easters in the Gulf of Maine, and they don't end until like sometimes towards the end of May. Like they could appear, and our
Right.
captain is very like hesitant about putting the docks in and then having them get ripped out.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
and so usually it happens like the last 2 weeks of term if we're lucky. And so I'm hoping like I can launch last 2 weeks and I'll have 1 week of term to like finish up.
Okay.
And
So
so
when
yeah.
you got this boat, how did you decide in your mind, what should I do first? Because there had to be like a huge A to Z list. So
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did you prioritize your list of to-dos? I'm guessing weather had some impact on that, but also
Mhm.
how you had access. See, like, because for me, part of the problem sometimes when I'm working at my boats is I might not have the right tool, or because I live in an
Mhm.
area that's not very maritime, I can't get the right products very easily, and it takes some
Right.
extra time to. So as far as, accessibility of equipment, if you didn't own it yourself, I'm assuming your school maybe has some things like that, but kind of talked to us a little about how you organized that list and prioritized, and then how you went about implementing those things.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm assuming you don't have like your own set of like tools and power tools, and but maybe you do. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, the college's like waterfront program has a pretty healthy assortment because of us working and refitting so many boats and like
Yeah.
keeping at any time at least 10 boats like alive and working. And so there's plenty of stuff for me to use, and like I've been really lucky that I've been able to use mostly anything I need to.
Okay.
In terms of materials like fiberglass and stuff, I've had to kind of find that on my own, like paint and
Mhm.
things like that. Um, as far
Are
as
you
the
paying
list,
for that too? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you have to pay
yeah,
for that yourself too? The
I do
fiberglass and
for my own materials, yeah, like stuff that I'm going to use that isn't something I can just like put back in the shop when I'm
oh,
done with it.
I gotcha.
Most of that I'm paying for. Um, and so, but for the list, I originally like sat down with my captain and like we walked around the boat and we looked at it, and the like three biggest problems were the spongy deck, so the foredeck, like basically the entire triangle before you hit like the
Yeah.
top of the cabin of the bow.
Uh-huh.
You could just like jump up and down on it,
Wow, like a
and like I mean
trampoline.
yeah, like I mean if you've seen the pictures on my Instagram, like I lifted up that top layer of, and the core was just like gone, or it was just soaking wet. Like I pushed my
Oh
fingers
my.
right through it, and so that
Wow.
was one of the first things we're like, let's just fix that, get rid of that, so we don't have to think about it. And then the other thing that was really big was because it's a 1966, it was built before. I'm pretty sure, this is my theory. I haven't actually like looked this up, but I'm pretty sure it was built before the regulations went in place for dumping. And
Okay.
so there's no sewage tank. It was just a toilet with an in and an out. And there was
Yeah.
no like tank, holding tank, or any sort of like bag, um, which is obviously not legal now and also kind of gross. And I
Yeah.
was like, and it was like this old, like rusted out toilet that was not going to work anyway. So I took it out and replaced it with a composting toilet, but that left
Yeah,
me with
okay.
all the holes to plug.
Hmm.
And also there was one of those old speed things with like the little wheel with the
Oh
little
yeah. Yep.
spoons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was another
A
thing.
tag, what do they call it? A
A
TAF?
tachometer.
So it's like it's tracking your miles, right? Your nautical
Yeah.
miles, isn't that? Yeah.
Or speed or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't need that because I was replacing with like instruments. Sorry, is that window
Oh yeah,
light really
no.
intense?
Oh no, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. So you got rid
Um,
of those through holes that were for the head, and you replaced all that, plugged those up, and then you put a composting
yeah.
in. Okay.
Yeah, and so the big project there was like filling those holes really carefully and fiberglassing over them. And like I didn't really know how to buy like only that much fiberglass, and so
Right.
this
Okay.
is kind of cool. I went to the Hinckley's Boatyard, which is a boatyard over
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, on the island, and I was like, "Hey, can I dig through your dumpster to like take any scraps?" Because they're building these like giant picnic yachts, and I'm like, I just need a scrap. Like silly to buy that. And they're like, "Oh, what do you need? We'll just cut it out for you." And so they took me through their shop and they like cut me out these huge swaths of like the chop and the wove and the chop wove and all these things. And then like, "Do you have materials? Like, do you have vinyl ester?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, how much do you need?" And they gave me buckets of it.
My
And they
gosh,
gave me
wow.
like the MEKP. And then they're like, "Do you have tools for this?" And I was like, "Well, I could find some." And they're like, "Okay, no, we're gonna go get tools." And they just like sent me out with like shopping bags of stuff. And I was like, "Please let me pay for this." And they're like, "No, this is awesome. Just take it." And it was
Oh
like
my gosh,
they were
that is
so
so
generous.
amazing. That
Yeah,
is
they were.
really cool.
Yeah, so shout out Hinckley's Boatyard, Southwest Harbor. They're fabulous. Love them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
so
they have a
generous.
fabulous reputation. I think they've been around for, I don't know, decades or more.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, there's a Hinckley's in Southwest Harbor on Mount Desert Island, and then there's another one, I think, somewhere a little bit farther south down the coast. Um, and yeah, there's a couple like Hinckley's locations in Maine.
I'll have to include some links. I'll do some research and see if I can find them online. I'm sure they have
Mm-hmm.
websites. I can include those links
Yeah,
in our little video description, podcast description too.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, they were great to me, and so I got like all my fiberglass stuff from them. And yeah, those were like my big things. And then I had to just kind of like redo top sides, like sanding all the old like gel coat stuff off. It was like a textured gel coat. And so I
Mm-hmm.
put like new paint, new non-skid, and replaced all the electronics. Was like the next big thing, was just to rip out everything. They had like cabin lights on single strings instead of like a daisy chain.
Oh,
And so they
wow.
had
Okay.
like the wires were just like a mess. And so I just took everything out and I put everything is new. And there's an old ice box. I have the cruiser model, which is there's three models of the Bristol 27. There's like a weekender and a dinette and a cruiser. And the cruiser model has two quarter berths and a V berth, and then it's got like extendable counters, sort of, but there's no like stove or kind of kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like an ice box that you can access from the cockpit. Like there's like a little hatch, and so
Oh,
you could
oh, like
grab
a
a
underneath where you sit?
yeah, yeah. And so there's like
Okay.
a little thing that you could like I don't know, grab an egg or whatever, um, if you needed one. Anyway, and the ice box was like old rotten plywood and styrofoam, and so I kind of just ripped the whole thing out and fiberglassed the hole over, and I'm just gonna get a cooler because like it's
Yeah.
probably way more efficient and it'll work just fine.
You mean like one that you can run off of your 12 volt, or do you have aside from 12 volt the 110 too? Did you install that on the boat or just the only 12
I
volt?
I have like a small AC inverter, like mostly just for like charging phone, computer, whatever. But I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna run like a refrigeration system. I think I'm just gonna do
Yeah.
like just a cooler with some ice in it for now, because like
Yeah.
I'm not like living there. I have a friend who's gonna live there in the summer, but like she doesn't need a cooler. Like
Uh-huh.
she can like Maine's lovely because in the summer you can just like go to the farm stand and eat a bunch of vegetables, and like
Oh, that sounds
refrigeration isn't
fabulous.
that necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's nice, but it's like it's on my luxury list, which
Yeah.
I haven't yeah, haven't quite
Cool.
gotten to.
Cool. Okay. Well, so I'm wondering with the electric, because that's for me, I think one of them, when I think about like what intimidates me about repairs on my boats, it's always electrical. It's something that
Hmm.
I always, and I've worked with actually a marine electrician. Um, Shout out to Owen Murphy of Meridian Marine Electrical, and he is um available remotely. And actually, he's cruising right now on his Pacific Seacraft 34. And I think he's
Oh,
heading
nice.
on his way to Tonga. And he started out in Florida like a couple of years ago, maybe, I think. But anyway, I worked with him and I really gained a lot of knowledge, but it was only just a few sessions that I did. And I feel
Hmm.
like I really need, I don't feel comfortable enough to do something like what you're talking about doing, where you ripped out all the old wiring and you installed all
Hmm.
new. So with the refit work that you did with the other boats that you mentioned, I mean, I'm assuming those are skills that you must have learned through those sorts of projects
Yeah.
earlier. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So do you use those Nigel Calder books? I always hear everybody talk about there's like, I
Is
think
that the maintenance mechanical and electrical?
I
Yeah,
think
my
so.
captain got me one of those, and it's actually been so useful. But yeah, so like a lot of in terms of like plumbing stuff and like some electrical stuff, but mostly
Yeah.
like physical, like sanding, painting, priming, filling, all that kind of stuff. I learned on the Rebecca, the big sailboat that we
Yeah.
got donated. And then
Hmm.
recently we have a Mitchell Cove 20, I think, which is like it's like a hull basically
Okay.
with an outboard. It's like a lot of them are used around here for like just fishing,
Like a,
oyster skiffs.
yeah,
Um,
skiff. Yep. Okay.
yeah, but it's like a center console,
Hmm.
and it's like designed really badly. And like
Oh,
there's a huge fuel tank on one side, and it's got like scuppers that are like at the water line, and it the bilge pumps don't really work, and like it's kind of a mess, and it's sunk twice.
oh
um,
no.
and yeah, it's a shame, but I was actually kind of lucky about that because I like during the summer it sunk. This would have been 23. Yeah, 20. Yeah, 23. It
Okay.
sunk. And then I got my boat like immediately after. And as part of the waterfront crew, it was like my task that term to replace all the electronics in it. which is great because
Okay.
I was like, this is perfect. I can learn how to do all of this and then translate
Right.
it. And so like chart plotter, VHF, like all those kind of those things, and then
Wow.
lights, batteries, alternator, and like regulators, all that kind of stuff I learned with that boat. And that was during a term where I did an independent study to get my RYA, which is like an English version of a captain's license.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
I want
valid
to
in the
know.
US, but it's valid everywhere else on
Yeah. I
Earth.
want to know more about that. I have another young woman that I met a year or so ago, and she did that. She's Canadian, and she did that
Mm-hmm.
program. And now she's working as I think some sort of an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
on a super yacht, some huge, like I think
Yeah.
it's like a 200-foot sailboat or something
Oh my
crazy. Like,
God.
yeah, it's just, I
Wow.
wish those are the sorts of things that I would love to. So I want to ask you about that too, but I interrupted you. But yeah, so
No, you're
go
fine.
ahead with you were charged with replacing the electrics and all that. So go ahead, keep
Yeah,
going.
and so I'm also made that part of my independent study to like learn about the small, because my RWA is an intermediate powerboat, which is like level
Okay,
3, I think, and basically it is dealing with like that size and type of boat. And so I was like, this
okay.
is perfect. I'll just do this as my project, and also then I went to England and got the certification at the end
Wow,
of the
that's
term.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. And it was like I think surprisingly easier than I thought it would be because I think I spent 10 weeks like training for it, and then I
Mm.
got there and it was like okay. But um
Yeah.
but yeah, the sort of refit, like electrical refit of that little sunken boat was really helpful to me. And so I translated everything I knew from that to Gentoo, and then I've also been working with a marine electrician, Robert Cramp, here on the island, who is the electrician for the college's boats as well, and so he's great. And he helped me a lot with like my Garmin setup.
Mhm.
I got a radar, which I didn't have any experience with. I like had no radar clue, but in Maine, there's like way too much fog to not have a
Oh,
radar.
yeah, right.
Um, and so he helped me out a lot with that and my transducer and stuff like that. Um, and so I've learned a lot from him as well. And
Do
yeah,
you
I
en
think,
do you enjoy that part? I mean, like, if you had to
yeah.
look at all the projects that because I'm sure you figured it out already, right? To be a sailboat or a boat owner of any kind, you really have to be kind of a jack of all trades because,
Hmm.
like you were saying, you've got your plumbing, you've got the electrical, you've got the body, like body work is a
Carpentry, sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
carpentry, and then the fiberglass work. I was going to say
Hmm.
body work, but that's more like car stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then rigging, right?
Right.
That's something else that I think for me is I find intimidating. And I had a
Hmm.
2 years, yeah, 2023. I had a situation where we were sailing on my Compact 23, and it's not a very old boat. It's only 2013, and I think she came from North Carolina, so she might have seen a little salt water, but she really wasn't used that much.
Hmm.
However, we're out sailing one day, and we were on a starboard tack, and my husband was at the helm, and I was working the jib sheets, and then all of a sudden he's like, something's loose up there, and he like looks up and points, and I'm thinking, what? I look over, and our upper shroud is just dangling.
Oh no.
So it turned out it wasn't really a huge deal. Well, I mean, it could have been a huge deal, but what it was is that the seizing wire that was holding the upper shroud to the spreader on the starboard
Hmm.
side, it just had worked itself loose, and probably it worked itself loose when the boat was trailered here from North Carolina to in the
Mm-hmm.
Midwest. And I just didn't think, well, I trusted the people that were helping me with the rig when I got the boat to step the mast and all that. And
Right.
I guess the lesson that I learned of that is it's really behooves one to have your own eyes and your own hands on these sorts of things, because
Yeah.
when you're out there, there's really nobody to help you. person. I mean, on an inland lake, it's not a big, huge deal, but out on the ocean or something, you really do have to know something about all those systems on board to be able to fix stuff if it
Right. Yeah.
so I'm like super jealous of you. Like I would love to have the skills that you have, but it's just like you said, right? You learn by doing. And I think that is, everybody's like, oh, just YouTube it or just read a book. Well, you can read and you can YouTube, but nothing replaces what you're doing, which is physical, hands-on work.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, that's kind of my whole culmination of human ecology is like that you learn by doing. And like at COA, you kind of learn, like what I make of it is that you learn how to learn. Like you're in a spot that you can do like independent studies and like the senior project, and they call it like a build your own curriculum, but like and it is like yes, and you're also like building your kind of the way you move through the world, like in terms of how you learn stuff. And I think like especially with the senior project, like I've learned so much, and like I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like I don't know. I think I prefer it that way because I mean, like obviously you don't want to ever know everything, but like I think
lifelong learning. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I feel like every day when I'm working on Gentoo, I'm like learning so much more. And recently, I've been working with a boat painter at one of the other boat yards on the island. His name is Phil Lichtenstein, and he's amazing, and he's like really helping me out with like getting me ready for priming. And then like the other day, I washed down the boat to like the final wash down before I put the primer on, and all these blisters started appearing everywhere.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I know, and I was calling him, and he was just like, you just have to sand those away. And so I've got like another whole set of sanding ahead of me now, and I was just like, I had no idea what that was going to happen. And if I had put the primer on, like, and those all popped up, that would be so much worse than a hose, And like, I feel like it's all those like little learning and then failing and then learning from that and moving on. And I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like what keeps me going into it.
Is the experience. And so let me ask you this, because this is something that's funny, like say it with sailors. Like when I got back, I grew up sailing when I was a kid. My dad taught me, but I was away from it for like a long time. And I started up again 5 years ago. And I told my dad, I want to buy a sailboat. And he said, sailboats are too much work. And what I've learned in the last 5 years, I've had probably 5 sailboats in the last 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I don't have them all now. I've sold a couple of them, but it's a journey. Like you get one, you learn from it and what it has to teach you. And then you realize that, okay, then this is the next step, sort of a thing. But what I've learned though, Rosie, is I actually really enjoy the work. A lot of people, I think I enjoy the work probably almost as much as I enjoy sailing, because it's really, you get out what you put in. When you put your heart and your soul into that boat is going to give you her heart and soul back. And there's something to me that is so, that relationship. It's like, you're getting to know the boat. I mean, obviously, once you start sailing her more and more, you're going to get to know a whole other side of her as well. But it's going to be very comforting for you, I'm guessing, as captain of your boat, that you will have had your hands on literally every inch of that boat. So you will know if something comes up, because something will come up eventually, right? That's just the laws of sailing and nature in general. But you will know what to do, and I just think that, I don't know, I think that's such a beautiful thing. I love the idea of this independence that you will have from all of these years of experience that you've had, culminating into what this is going to become for you in your life. So kudos to you.
I've never seen the boat even in the water yet. Like that's the biggest thing. I'm like, I I keep thinking about like sailing her. I'm like, why? Don't even know if she could float. Like, I mean, she probably will, but I haven't seen it. And so right now
Yeah.
it's kind of just like this thing that sits in the woods that I deal
Right.
with every day. And I also, I really love the work. Like, I think aside from the like 30 hours of sanding,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like all of, I think like, especially like the electrical is really intriguing to me. Like, to like work out how all these different things go and like make
Hmm.
it fit within the boat and in like a way that like works and is also like satisfying and not dangerous and like
Right.
just all of that is also just it's really exciting to me. And I got a new engine just because the old one was like this the 25-year-old like Sailmaster
Hmm.
Johnson thing and
Yeah.
had like oil pouring out of every crevice and like
It was an
I
outboard,
don't
right?
yeah, it's got an inwell.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Cool. Hmm.
and I was like, if I don't know, if I'm drifting towards the rocks, I don't think I want that to be my engine. And so
Yeah.
I got a new one. It's like a Yamaha, like a it's got like 5 engine hours on it. I got it from some lovely person on Facebook Marketplace. And like the whole thing with like wiring that into the boat now because it's got like a push start. It also has a pull start, but it's got like it's
The
meant for a
electric
push
start?
start. Yeah. And so
Awesome.
now I get to like work that whole thing and solar, which is like a complete
Oh,
alien to me. And I've been working with Robert, the electrician here, and he's like explained it all to me. And I got bifacial solar panels, which I'm really excited about.
tell me what
Um,
those are. I'm not sure what you mean by
it's
bifacial.
a it's a panel
Two.
where the well, I got two panels, but they have the solar cells on top and the bottom. So you
Okay.
get
Oh,
light
I
reflected
see.
off the water too.
Oh, wow. I've
And
never even heard of that.
yeah, I hadn't either. And it's supposed to have like I don't remember what percent, but it's supposed to get like it's especially good for like if you're mounting it on a roof with snow, I guess, obviously, because you get the white, the brightness of but I
Okay.
think with water it also works pretty well. So I don't know. They weren't like that much more expensive and I was like, why not?
Yeah, that makes
um
sense.
and so yeah, I'm excited about like trying to figure out how to put all that together. Um and like the whole electrical thing is just like this really exciting puzzle to me. It's
So
also
th
like exciting in a way like if you don't
you have
get
a
it
good
right,
day.
it's a big shame. Because you like ruin anything as soon as you plug it in, you know?
Well, yeah, that's the thing for me. Again, like I said, for the intimidation factor is
Yeah.
the safety thing too, like the
Right.
electrical fire. That's one of the top scariest things that I think can happen on a boat, for me
Yeah.
at least. But
Yeah.
so when you look at all of these different aspects that you have been delving into with refitting and restoring, is like I would say this is more than a refit. This is a restoration, right? Not
Yeah.
I mean, you were literally like redoing the boat. Um,
Yeah.
what I mean, what do you is it, would you say the electrical then is kind of the most favorite part of the work that you have done? Like it sounds to me like from what we've talked about, maybe so, but I'm curious what you think about the other projects that like the sanding I know is tedious,
Right.
probably not that fun, but painting, that to me sounds like that could be pretty fun. I never painted a hull
Yeah.
before. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
I got to paint the
spray
Rebecca's
paint
hull.
or with a roller.
Roll and tip, yeah. And
Okay.
I got to do that to the Rebecca, and that was like it was pretty fun. It's really satisfying because the paint that I used then is similar to the paint that I'm using now. And you like you roll it on, and then you take a soft brush and you like lightly go over it, and it just like and flattens
Oh,
out. It's really
wow.
nice, and then you get that like nice shiny smooth coat.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I don't know about like favorite. I think I really have liked it all. I've also really liked the sort of community that I've created with it. Like there's so many people that want to know what's going on
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
like
why I wanted to talk to you. Same
and
thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and there's also like just as many people who like want to help and they want to be part of it somehow. And like my best friend is making the new covers for my cushions and like my other best friend did like most of my sanding with me and like
Oh, cool.
I've
Yeah.
got like so many friends who are like now part of this boat and now like it just makes it like so much more meaningful to me. And so like in terms of favorite, I think that's my favorite part is like spending all
Oh,
that
that's
time with
cool.
people and like
Yeah.
learning from and with them. But like the electrical is like fascinating, and then there's like the other things that are like fun, like the painting and installing new stuff, shiny stuff, like
Right.
like and or like old but still shiny. Like I replaced my pulpit because the tree had fallen on it before I bought it, and the like right at the end of it was like snapped.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
and there's really no way to weld like those pipes. It was right at the joint too.
Uh-huh.
And so I just like found another one on Facebook Marketplace, and it's
Was it
like,
the similar style? Because there's so many different kinds of them. Did you?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was the same shape. It's a little bit lower by
Mm-hmm.
like maybe that much, but I don't think it's the end of the world because the rails, like the lifelines, went down to
Yeah.
like the deck, and then the pulpit
Mm-hmm.
came up, I think originally. And
Yep.
I don't know, to me that's not it. I
Yeah.
just like I think then you're losing the point of like that whole safety thing at the bow, or you're
Exactly.
kind of like maybe you should have something 'cause it's like the skinniest
Right.
part of the boat. And anyway, and so I had another friend weld two little rings onto it, so now I can clip my
Oh
lifelines straight
yeah.
across.
Right
Um
on.
yeah, and so I'm pretty excited about that
Yeah.
addition.
No, that sounds cool. Now on your boat, what kind of is it like a teak tow rail? I'm
Yeah.
assuming it probably teak, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
don't think they were making the aluminum. I want to feel or say like that was probably in the 70s, but I don't know my history that well enough to say
Yeah.
for sure. But let's shift. I'm looking at the time. I want to be mindful of your time. I set aside an hour. I hope that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm curious to kind of get into the rigging part of things with the boat. So like the spars. So original, or did you like to get some, did you find new ones or refurbished ones? What did you do with the mast, booms, whisker pole, spinnaker pole, all that jazz?
Yeah, so the mast and boom are original. I don't have any poles um, for whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I just have the mast and boom, and they're in pretty good shape. I've like done a lot of additions and subtractions to the mast. Like I built I mean, I think there's a picture on my Instagram. It's like a little grabby thing that's got a long bar that sticks out, and I put my anchor light on that, and also there's an attachment for the wind vane, which I'll stick on there right before she goes
Okay.
up, and an antenna for the VHF. Um, and I've added the radar, of course, and there's like I've taken out a couple lights here and there. The shrouds and stays, don't know if they're original, but I'm inclined to say they are because they have these what are they made? They're like porcelain or ceramic like blocks like this big, and
Oh.
they have the shrouds like linked through them. And I
So where
think
the
it's
chain plate is, you mean? Like into the
no,
hull?
it's like in the wire. There's like a point in the wire, like
Oh,
I don't know how far
wow.
up, that just breaks, and it's got a loop and a loop going through it, and then inside of that there's a ceramic block. And I think
Huh.
that's for the short or medium, whatever the old radio is. I don't remember if it's shortwave or medium frequency that they had in there. The like single sideband.
Yeah.
It stops the current, I think, and it keeps your mast from being its own
Oh,
antenna for the whole
yeah.
boat.
Okay. I
And
gotcha.
like if you look at like telephone wires, they have those, and I'm and like, they're like this big. And I asked, there's a rigging group on the island, Indolo Marine, who told me that like if the rigging looks good around the blocks, they're safe to sail with. And so I do think
Interesting.
these are original, but the boat hasn't really done all that much. So I think like, and they look healthy, so I'm gonna hold on to them and give them a go. I've
Okay.
obviously replaced all the running rigging. I just got all that back from
Okay.
also Indolo Marine. They did a great job, and they're another group on this island who's been just like really generous to me. Like
Yeah.
they like recognize this project, and they're like, we have some like leftover but not new, like slightly used snap shackles that we'll give to you for free if you would prefer that. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I don't need a brand new snap shackle. And then they send me another message after, and they're like, well, these didn't turn out to be as good as we want, but we'll give you the new ones for free because we said we would do that. And so like
Oh,
these people are
wow.
so generous, and they're like really working
That's
with
so
me and
amazing.
my budget. Yeah, and so I've got all new halyards and sheets, um, and all the other lines, and then I'm using the old ones for dock lines because they're like nice still. They're
So,
good enough to use.
yeah,
Um,
okay. So
yeah,
the heads, so do you hank on, not roller furling, right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
then what sort of, do you have like a split backstay? What's the backstay setup like on that boat? Is it adjustable or?
It. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's just one,
Mm-hmm.
just like a straight back stay, just
Okay. And how
like a
many,
small boat style.
then your shrouds or your side stays, how many do you have?
There's
Uh,
three
and are they
on either side.
externally mounted or do they go through the deck into
All
the?
of them are internally mounted except for the backstay.
Oh, okay.
And the backstay is right across the transom. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure the headstay mounts onto like this bronze plate that's like the cap of the nose basically,
Yeah, I
and
know what
it's
you're
got
talking
like the
about.
chocks built in.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so the chain plate for that is, I think it's on the inside um of like the stem, which is kind of weird, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Can you access the side stay chain plates? Are you able to
yeah.
access those okay? I've heard some stories that do you know about island packet boats? Have you heard of them? Island
Yeah.
packets? Yeah, I was looking at those boats and I learned, I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe or so. I always was in love with them, but then I learned this thing about how, I guess prior to 2000, maybe, that they had been manufactured with the chain plates essentially, I believe, glassed into the hull of the boat or something.
But
So,
not bolted in?
I'm not
Or
really, I think bolted, but then fiberglassed over or something. I
oh,
don't
so
know.
you can't get to
So
them?
yeah, the only way that my understanding, again, this is just what I read. I don't know how true or not true, but it seemed to me that from what I ascertained that you would not be able to access them without
Yeah.
ripping out, the cabin partially, parts of the
Huh.
cabin to get to them. And I just thought, well, I'm a little nervous
Right.
to get into something like that. So I ended up not really pursuing it. But and again, that's just something I read online. I don't know if it's true,
Yeah, I
but
think I was just talking about this the other day with my captain or
yeah.
Phil or someone. I was just talking about the boats with the fiberglassed in chain plates and
Yeah,
like
there are some other ones that did that too, I think, but I just remember hearing specifically, I think that Island Packet used to do that. And I don't think they do anymore post
mhm.
2000, I think is what I had heard. And because I remember people saying, oh, well, whatever you do, just make sure you look for a boat that was built after like 2001 to be on the safe side or
Mm,
something. But um,
yeah.
so how about your sales? Let's talk about your sales that you have. Original sales, or did you find someone to help you out with getting some sales, maybe new sales for the boat?
Yeah, it's so I have a pile of them because the guy I got it from he was very funny. He was like, one day I was in New York and I found this crazy store and it had walls and walls of sales from random boats and no labels. And I found about six of them that fit perfectly. And so the sales I have are just like random sales from random boats. They're all used. Um, I've looked over them and there's like probably half of them are in really good condition. There's some nice big Genoas.
Mhm.
And then there's a couple mains and a couple jibs and one spinnaker with hearts on it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, the this guy's wife was really into like patching sails with heart patches and she was very sweet.
That's really
And they were
cool.
telling me about these sails and like yeah, there's a few of them are in like perfect condition for like sailing just like normally. And so I don't think I'm gonna get new sails anytime soon. I mean, unless it turns out that they are not fine when I actually use them.
Right.
There's some of them that I don't think I'm gonna use, but I definitely have enough to like pick and choose and try
Sure.
different kinds to see which ones work best.
So do you know how to do patches and work on the sails yourself? Did you learn about how to do some sewing too?
I I know how to do like general fabric work, like sewing, mending. Um, I'm a big knitter. I just finished a sweater. I'm
Ooh.
working on another one, but I've never done like sail repair. I've worked with sails like sewing and stuff. I did sea semester, not to be confused with semester at sea.
Uh-huh.
Sea semester's on a tall ship,
Oh
and
my.
we did
Wow.
like a voyage around French Polynesia. And I
Oh
worked
my
with
gosh.
sailcloth there, making like bags and things. And so I've got like a gist of how to make like strength and like proper, like directional strength stitches.
Mm.
So I think I could figure it out if something happened, but I have never done that before.
Do you have one of those Sailmaster sewing machines at the college too that you can use if you wanted to for repairs and
I
such?
think there is one, but it's like totally in shambles.
Oh,
And
because
it was
yeah.
like given to a different department of like the nerds who pick things apart or something. So I'm not really sure. I don't think I have access to that.
Yeah.
But there like are canvas and sail worker people
Mm.
around and on the island and within the community. It's on the coast here that I could definitely find help if I needed it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm not too worried about that
You live in a
right
great
now.
area where you have accessibility to so many professionals and just
Yeah.
that sounds like everybody's very community oriented and
Hmm.
helpful. Like,
Yeah.
that's so refreshing to hear that. I just am yeah, I'm really excited to hear that.
Yeah,
Um
I love living in this marine environment because like there's nothing like the ocean for people to be on the same level,
oh
because
yeah,
like it
yeah,
treats
you said
everyone
it.
the same, and so we've all got like I just really like the feel of that.
Well, in the last 5 minutes that we have, I wanted to cover just a couple other things. I definitely want to give you the opportunity rather, to tell our listeners how they can follow your journey. You can go over all that, but before we get into that, just curious, what's the plan with the boat once she's all set and ready to go? What do you are you
Yeah.
thinking you want to sail away into the sunset, or what's the plan?
I have kind of no idea right now. Like immediately she's gonna be a house for one of my dear friends for the summer.
Yeah.
Um, I really love Maine and I really think I want to stay here for a while. And so she'll probably be like my main vessel for a while. But at some point, I do really want to sail like down the coast,
Yeah.
um, see how far I can get before I'm either don't like it or have something else to do.
Right.
But I have no like sort of like future goals or like dreams other than just like having a boat and being on the water. And like, I really want to learn to sail on my own. Like, I
Yeah,
can
solo
do it with a
sailing.
smaller boat, but
Yeah.
I feel like not that a 27-foot boat is very big, but it's big for what I've learned on to be one person on. And
Sure.
I think I would really like to learn to do that, but we'll see how far I
Yeah.
get with like life and time and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for you. I wish I could be your age all over again because I would just love to do that sort of, yeah, there's so much that you're doing that I could just see myself doing too. That's why it's so fun to talk to you. I'm
Still
just like, I guess
time.
yeah, I hope living a little bit, I admit, vicariously through you, but I just think like I said, what I really love that I'm hearing is how community oriented the experience for you has
Hmm.
been with this project of restoration for your boat, and just how excited you are to be doing what you're doing. That is, it's very rare for me to come by people who feel excited about their day-to-day life in that way. I think
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so let's feel free to, if there's something I didn't cover that you would like to share, go ahead and have at it, and let people know how to find you.
Yeah. Nothing comes to mind immediately. I'm on Instagram. It's just sail Gentoo. I think it's sail.gentoo.
Okay.
And then my art account, I think, is in the bio of that.
Oh, I wanted
Rosie
to,
Chater Art.
yeah, I wanted to,
Yeah.
that's something else I meant to ask you about, because your artwork, you are so talented. Holy
Thank
cow.
you.
I'm just blown away by your artwork.
Thank
So I
you.
will put links to your artwork,
Okay.
Instagram, which has because it's a separate website from Instagram, right? For your artwork, like where
Yeah, I
people
have
can.
an Instagram account for the art, and then I also have an online portfolio. It's like an
Okay.
Adobe portfolio. But like all of my Instagrams are kind of linked together, like in the bios, like they'll have the
Okay.
boat, the art, and the art portfolio.
Okay.
And so yeah, you can pull them off of there.
Okay. I
Um,
probably, before I publish, I will just clarify to make sure I have everything the way that you
yeah,
think it should be before I publish it. But I'll put all those links in the podcast description and their podcast
yeah,
notes. And that way people can, find you and hear
yeah.
and follow your story themselves. So I want
Cool.
to just say thank you so, so much for
Yeah, of
coming onto the
course.
show and sharing your story. I'm just, it's such a joy to talk to you. I really have enjoyed our conversation so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no. Thank you. This has been really exciting. I've never been on a podcast before, and I've been like desiring to start my own. I just
Oh
don't know
yeah,
how. And like
oh,
it's one of my dreams right now, so
you should
perhaps
definitely,
coming soon.
yeah, you should definitely do it. It's so rewarding to meet so many people.
Yeah.
And the way that I do mine, it's just, I don't really say, well, we're only talking about racing or we're only talking, it's like the topics range from people who trailer sell. I interviewed a young man who's he built his own boat, a 19-foot sailboat, plywood sailboat that he's
Oh wow.
racing around the world in, literally
Oh
around
my
the
God.
world right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just,
19 feet.
yeah,
Wow.
5.8 meters. So, yeah, just a lot of really, really amazing people out there to connect with. And you're
Yeah.
one of them, Rosie. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. This has been
Okay.
so awesome.
You have a
Great.
wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you so
You
much
too.
again.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, thank
Such a
you. Good
pleasure to
talking to
talk to
you.
you. Okay. Take care.
I hope you have enjoyed my conversation with Rosie and learning about her journey from the Falkland Islands to the coasts of Maine. Be sure to check out the links found in the video podcast description to learn more about Rosie, Gentoo, and her artwork. If you are getting something out of my podcast series, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and stop by for a visit on my website at passagesfromtheheart.wordpress.com. Until next time, fair winds.